Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and happy recording. I'm Nicole Trick-Steinbach. I'm the International Bravery Coach. And today I'm running this webinar for you to dive deep into interest interviews. Interest interviews are your simplest, fastest networking strategy. So if you are here to find a job quickly, you're in the right place. If you're here for career growth, you're in the right place. And if you're here to do this a little bit better, you are also in the right place. We're going to cover all of that. In the first half hour, I'm going to be teaching. And in the second half hour, I'm going to be opening it up for questions and answers and exchange. And I am so excited to be of support to you. So as we get going, let's see if this is going to change slides. Okay, so really specifically, we're going to go over where you are starting. So already you need the either an electronic version and you're going to write in your hand, or you've printed out the worksheets that I sent you, because we're going to start right away with where are you starting. Okay? It's also going to be open in the chat. Then I'm going to cover very quickly, what is an interest interview? Why do they work? I'm going to cover the 3 hows. So this is not a overview. I'm really going to walk you through the 3 hows. How to set them up, how to run them, and how to keep going. And then I'm going to open it up for Q&A. Now, I do have one request when it comes to the Q&A. If you put something in the chat before the Q&A, just be ready to copy and paste that again, because a lot of times the chat starts going and I miss the earlier questions. Okay, so we could just collaborate on that. I would be grateful. Thank you, because your question matters and you matter to me, right? And if it gets lost in the chat, I don't want it to. I want to answer your questions. Okay. So really quickly, closed captioning is enabled. Please do turn that on. As you can tell, I am a white woman. I have primarily German and Irish genetic ancestry. Forgot the word for a second. And I'm living in Colorado. So that means that I am living on the unceded lands of the Ute and the Cheyenne people. And it is in my view, my obligation to honor that and to pay my rent. If you are interested anywhere in the world to explore the native lands that you're living on, or to learn more about your native ancestry, please do check out native-land.ca. It is truly fascinating to explore that background. Okay, so why am I teaching about interest interviews? Why do I so strongly believe in them? Well, I grew up very poor. My mother was a single mom for many years, and she struggled financially. Welfare, moving a lot. There was domestic abuse. I have a stutter. I'm in recovery for disordered eating. And there wasn't a lot of expectation from where I was that one would grow significantly, but I did. Part of it was because I heard from the youngest age, like, oh my God, we got to send this one to college. She can't do anything with her hands, which is not untrue. Okay. And I also had people who entered my life for a moment, for a small period of time, for a longer period of time, who really helped me, showed me, role modeled me, or invested in me, and opened up doors when I didn't even know there was a room, right? And as my career grew, so I graduated from college, wrote a column when I was in college, which was, I got the opportunity over just talking to people, right? Very unstructured talking to people. And then I moved to Germany, And first I did freelance work, and then I started working at a corporation. And thankfully, I had a boss who really sat me down early in my career and said, here's how you need to get to know people. This is how you do it. This is why it works. And this is how it's going to make a difference for you. And it really did. Now, I start with a lot of privilege. Okay. I have white privilege. I have native English speaking privilege because I was living in Germany, working at a global international software company. I also started in which, the first people I started with a temporary job was the CFO of this massive corporation and his direct reports. So I started with I have pretty privilege, I have curiosity privilege. There's so much privilege that I have. So I honor that. And I also was given this education, training, this strategy so that I could really build from there. So I started in a temporary role. I started as, I think I was called a communications assistant or something, sitting at the biggest tables. And by the time that I exited corporate, I was a global senior director running massive programs transformationally all over the world. I had traveled to more than 25 countries, and I had this incredible, and I still have this incredibly wide, deep network all over the world. Right. So that's why I'm talking about interest interviews. I live them. I do this. I still do interest interviews. And this is one of the ways that my clients are encouraged. It's never mandatory, but they're really encouraged to dive into this and to experience it. And if you want to hear their stories, every single one of them, every single one of them on my podcast actually references this kind of strategy. All right. So where are you starting? I really want you to take time to answer these questions and share in the chat. I'm going to give us 3 minutes. And really, I want you to go with your first gut instinct, right? And then we're going to dive into this a little bit more. Okay, because we want to know where we're starting. It's just like GPS. Where are we starting and where are we going? All right, 3 minutes. Go ahead. Okay. What do you currently believe about networking? In the emails and in the social posts when I was sharing this, I was talking about, how I share different things I frequently hear, but what do you currently believe? What do you want to believe about networking? Right? What we believe about things drives how much we're willing to implement time and effort, success, failure, vulnerability, and skill build, right? So it's really important to be clear about what you want to believe. Okay, so we got those two meta level, right? So let's talk about why you want to do interest interviews. What's opening you up to want to learn about the strategy, this approach, this very simple, very effective approach? Like, what is opening you up? Why do you want to learn about them? Okay. Last, no. How do you want to feel when you're doing them? This is the core question. How do you want to feel? I'm going to offer to you, and I have actually at the top of this worksheet. This worksheet is from my workbook. As you can tell, this is page 36. So in the workbook, I literally gave you what I give my clients. What do you want to feel? I offer curiosity. I offer connection because that's what my clients say are the most helpful for them consistently. But what about you? What do you want to feel? All right. So please feel free to share in the chat. And let's see. Okay. Mhm. All right, excellent. So just for time, I'm going to keep going, but I can loop back. However, if you have a question, please get ready to copy and paste. I really want to make sure I answer your question. So what is an interest interview? All right, an interest interview is an informal conversation between two people. These two people can be any gender, age, nationality, religion, any sexual identity, any of these aspects, any function. One can be more senior or less senior. There's one person who is coming with curiosity, with a desire to learn, a desire to experience an openness. One person has a goal, has a learning need, whether that's a short-term job or a longer term career growth or a personal hobby, interest, desire to learn, right? And then the other person is coming with an openness, a willingness to answer questions and share their experience. What is not happening? What is not happening in an interest interview is a desperation and a request for the other person to solve your problem. Okay. You are open, they are generous, okay? But you are not solving the problem. Okay. Now, the reality is, and I'm going to show in a couple of slides, that the interest interview strategy does solve the problem very quickly and very effectively. However, that's not the goal of this conversation. Now, interest interviews can be done in person, the way this is being done. It can also be done virtually, the way that this is being done, right? Now, in this situation, I really want to stress, we don't know in this picture who's asking and who's providing, because the very important part of interest interviews is that you can learn from anyone. My interest interviews with Gen Z are some of the most informational and experience rich informational interest interviews I have, right? And you can also share with anyone, right? So it's really important. So that is what an interest interview is. You are interested and you interview someone else. Okay. We're going to go even more deep into the how. So why do they work? Warning, the next slide, it is full of words and data. If you'd like to grab a screenshot, please do. This is all research-based. I know it's a lot, okay? But I really want to give you a feel. I'm not going to go over every one of these, but I want to give you a feel for why these are successful, okay? So if we look at short-term job search, 3 times more access to unlisted or unadvertised opportunities, because 85% of open job positions are filled through networking, not resumes. Why? When you cold submit a resume, 75% of the chance it will be rejected after a 6-second recruiter scan, if it even gets there. Okay? Versus a 5-minute expert manager scan that has a 15% rejection rate. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm playing some game and someone tells me, if you go over there, you have a 75% fail rate, and over there, you have a 15% fail rate, I'm going this way, right? 6 seconds recruiters versus 5 minutes experts and managers. And really important here is that men and women have similar rates. Now, when you break that down, when you aggregate the data down, Black men, Black women have similar rates, white men, white women have similar rates, okay? Asian men, Asian women have similar rates. And very sadly, this research does not include our siblings, who are our trans siblings, our non-binary siblings. Unfortunately, the data just isn't available. If you have that data, I am always learning and I'm always growing. Okay, so let me move my picture just a little bit. All right, midterm career growth. What I really, really, really want to stress here, and you are absolutely welcome to read them all, is every time you have an intersectional identity, you actually increase your rate of role growth by 5x with powerful networking. So for every intersectional identity that you have, networking and interest interviewing as a simple, effective strategy increases your growth over time. Okay. Referrals are the source of 40% of hires, 7% of applicants. Hello. So you got 100%, 7% of applicants are based on referral networking, and yet 40, right? Like 40% of those hires are from that 7%. Hello, right? Hello. And then last but not least, 100%, 100% of C-level and senior leadership stated that networking was the key to their step into executive leadership. You don't want to go to executive leadership, that's fine, but you still need networking. Because if you're trying to get to the highest, most rare, networking is the key. So imagine how much easier it is when you are interested in a broader, more available type of position with networking. Okay. Personal growth, 89% increased self-confidence. If you're feeling a little low self-confident, then you need to get out there and get networking. You're going to have a massive growth in your self-confidence in just 3 to 4 of these conversations. Okay. 52% report creative thinking is inspired, new approaches, strategies, and solutions. Very interesting is 45. Think about all the times that you've made the best decision that you could, and then you find out the manager is a micromanager, or the organization is restructuring, or the bonuses are going away, or, right? With networking, you have a 45% chance of reducing ill-informed decision. And those are chances I'm ready for. Okay. And a lot more. All right. So why do they work? Here we go. But I'm going to sum this up by saying we're humans. We are designed, our brains are designed to be in a tribal situation where we support each other. Tribal in this case meaning interconnected, woven, mutually obligated to and for each other. That's why they work. It is more important who you know than what you know. Does that drive disparities? Yes, it does. Is it true? Yes, it is. Okay, so let's go. How do I set them up? Here we go into the 3 hows. You ready? Go ahead and get this other worksheet out. And we're going to start with interest interviews are centered on curiosity, on learning and exchange. People want to help people. We are literally wired to help people, no matter where we're from. A very small section of the world are sociopaths, psychopaths, whatever. The vast majority of us want to help people. And last but not least, people freaking love to talk about themselves. Oh my God. Think about it. Someone asks you about yourself, boop, 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 boop. And when you get to share what you know, boop, 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 boop. Okay, these are things that you have to believe. All right. I want you to take, let's say 3 minutes, and you can start with either side, okay? You can start with, what do I want to learn? For example, a recent client of mine who just started as a systems engineer, it's very exciting, wrote down, who is hiring system engineers? What does a system engineer need to do in an interview or on LinkedIn to increase success? How does a system engineer most successfully learn about the culture of the team that they potentially would work with? Questions like that, right? Another kind of question would be like, I'm thinking of moving to Philadelphia. I'm thinking of moving to Paris. What's it like to live in Philadelphia and Paris? How, all of these things. How are the schools? How does the team communicate with each other? And then the other side, you can always start with people. Who do I want to talk to? I want to talk to a systems engineer too in the Denver area. I want to talk to a recent graduate in systems engineer. I want to talk to, right? Or you can even put people's names down if you have people that you know that you already want to talk to. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to go ahead and do that. All righty. Now, I have a couple of best practices here. You can dive in, you can go after it, but I really suggest that you start with 4 practice people. Okay. These are not the people who are like, wow, if I have a great interest interview with this person, it's going to open up the entire Denver market to me. Or if I really connect with this person, I know they run a women in tech organization globally. Wow, it's just going to like totally change my opportunity. Start with a few practice people where you're genuinely curious. You want to learn from them and you want to experience the flow, right? You want to build this skill, but without the crushing pressure or the desire to have this massive outcome when you're just learning how to do the skill, okay? Very concretely, you reach out. If you have their phone number, it's a quick voicemail, it's a quick call, it's a text. If you're reaching out over LinkedIn, it's a really concrete, simple message. If it's email, social media, whatever it is, you reach out to them and you say, hi, I'm Nicole Trick-Steinbach, and I am currently getting ready to switch from my corporate career into an entrepreneurship situation. I am really looking to learn from people who I perceive as doing this type of work in a heart-centered way, to learn about what supported you as you were transitioning, what supported you in the first 6 months. What are some lessons learned that you'd be willing to share with me? I really see you as an expert in this area. And to be very clear, I am not looking for you to for you to be a client. I'm not looking for you to solve my problems. I'm not looking for you to give me free of your expertise. I'm really looking for an informal human to human conversation, perhaps 30 minutes. Would you be open to having that form of conversation with me? Right. Let me give you another example. Hi, just saw your comment. So, hi, my name is, I am currently shifting from one into the other. I've noticed on LinkedIn, you have really amazing things to say about this. And I would love, and I am reaching out to ask for 30 minutes of your time for an interest interview. I am not looking for you to source a job for me, to look at my resume, to make blah, blah, blah. I'm really looking to have an informal conversation where I can learn from you. Are you open to scheduling with me? Right? You want to do this with the 4 practice people. You want to build that self-confidence. Remember the 89% increase in self-confidence. You want to experience what it means to show up in curiosity, to learn, and to have a human exchange with a person that wants to help you and gets to talk about themselves and what they know. Okay, so that is how you concretely set them up. So how do you run them? Okay, so you're actually in the interest interview. My clients who take this approach, they have about a 75% return rate. So for every 4 people they reach out to, 3 of them have an interest interview with them over the course of time. Okay, so you start off with thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your willingness. I am so excited. I'm so joyful. I'm so looking forward to this. I've got some preparation. You let them answer you, and then you say, okay, so a little bit about me. So why I reached out, and you tell them the same thing you wrote down. People are busy. We've got lots of wonderful things to do. So tell them, I'm looking for a career switch from this to this. I'm going from corporate to entrepreneurship. I really see you as knowledgeable as an expert in this area. I love how you're opening up. So the reason that I'm really looking for this kind of transition is that I've been coaching for 7 years. This is my story. I've been coaching for 7 years. I've noticed I spend the majority of my time doing that versus my actual job. And I'm ready to take the emotional, the financial, the processual risk to focus my time on independently coaching people all over the world. I'm really creative. I'm pretty cheeky. I'm okay in uncomfortable situations. And I've been told I am a stellar change maker, question asker, and follow up. Okay. So this is where you ask that initial question. So what were 2 or 3 things that really helped you as you transitioned out of corporate and into entrepreneurship? And let them answer you, okay? You really want to flow from the introduction, the personal story, into your initial question so that they don't have to do this awkward introduction that they probably didn't prepare for, and they can just start answering your question, right? And then you go into a natural curiosity-based exchange. Now, this is where a lot of my neurodivergent clients start asking questions like, natural exchange, right? I really recommend my clients, if they're neurodivergent and they're open about it, and that's something that they share with people, put that up in what makes me special. If they're not open about it, say in the what makes me special, I really love, I love to geek out. Geeking out is the best. And so I might get super focused on one area. I want you to feel super comfortable to say, like, that's a really detailed question. I'm not exactly, that's a really detailed question. What I'd love to tell you about is this. Right? Okay. So you have this curiosity-based exchange, right? What's so important is 5 minutes before your time is up. You really want to honor and respect and treasure this person's time. However much time they gave you, 45 minutes, half an hour, whatever, a lunch, and be really clear. So before we get off the phone, before we get off Zoom, before we go, there's really 2 questions I want to make sure I ask you. So first of all, and most importantly, thank you so much. You were so generous with that. How can I help you? The vast majority of people will be like, I don't know, but thanks for offering. I've heard things like, would you be willing to look at my content? Could you engage more actively with my things on LinkedIn? Actually, I noticed that you're connected to so-and-so. I'd love to have the opportunity to meet them. One I even heard was, well, would you be willing to make me a cake? And my client said yes and made them this adorable cake. Okay. I think it was for their wedding anniversary. Anyways, I'm getting off track. It was just such a fun story. And then the second question, the last question is, from our conversation, and you only do this if it's true. if there's something in the conversation that really, really piqued your curiosity, your interest, you felt a flutter in your stomach or in your chest all the way up, depending on how your body responds, you sit up straighter, right? And say, when you said this about systems engineering, I got really excited. I'm really interested in learning more about that. Is there one person you could connect me to so I can have the same conversation with them? Right? When you make a concrete ask, this topic, one person, same conversation, and you have shown up in curiosity and learning, you've shared parts of yourself, the vast majority of people, they might say in that conversation, nobody's coming to mind exactly right now. Give me a couple of days to noodle on it. You follow up. The vast majority of people send a name or two. Okay. The people who say, oh my gosh, yeah, Rebecca is amazing about that. Let me connect you to Rebecca. A tiny, tiny, tiny sliver of people are like, nope, that's okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. Really appreciate your time. I appreciate your generosity, right? And then you leave the phone call, you leave the Zoom, you leave the session, whatever it is. Okay, you leave the lunch, the dinner, the coffee, the drinks, whatever you've decided to have. That is how you run an interest interview. Simple, right? Simple and super effective, right? You're showing up in curiosity. You're showing up to learn. You're not showing up in desperation. You're not showing up expecting them to solve your problem. It's a human to human connection. So how do you keep it going? Well, first of all, you go into spider networking, which is when you build your net out. I'm not going to teach how to do spider networking today because that's a whole nother webinar, but that's where you start to build your net out by asking people, could you connect me to? You start connecting to more people. You use LinkedIn, you use local groups, you start putting yourself out there. That's how you keep going in this one specific area. But here's what I've noticed, because, corporations, non-governmental organizations have paid me to teach people how to interest interview. And then I hear later, could you come in and talk about this? Could you come in and talk about this? Right? Which is great, really wonderful. But it's like a one-off. Okay. So you do this, it's going to work, it's going to grow, simple, and it is effective, right? The other potential for you is to take this one and to step into a holistic coaching experience based on building your brave. So right after this is going to be 3 or 4 minutes, and then we're going to get into the Q&As. So if you already know a question you want to, this is a perfect time to put it into the chat, okay? We're going to start off with reality, brave or truth that I believe. Brave is a skill. It is not a personality trait. Doing an interest interview and learning the skill is you stepping into your brave. It is not a personality trait. It's a skill. How do I know? I am not a naturally brave person, but I live very bravely because you are already brave and so am I. Think of all the things that have gone wrong and you still get up in the morning. You still drive your car, even though most of us have been in some sort of accident. You still turn on the lights, even though they can start a fire. You still make the act. You still show up, right? You're already brave and you can build it. And that is exactly what I do for my clients. Now, these are not pictures of my clients. They come later. There are 3 aspects to building your brave, and we work on them all together. So clarity. How do I feel? What do I believe about networking now? What do I want to believe, right? Momentum. How can I do this? And accountability, making a promise to yourself and keeping that promise. Accountability, most of us, especially those of us who have been socialized as women, we have been taught that accountability is control over others. Hold them accountable. That is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about self-accountability. You make a promise to yourself, you make a plan in the momentum section based on the clarity, and you continue to execute and shift and change your plan over time. Most people who begin working with me are really strong in momentum, taking action, but they do it without the emotional clarity, without the clarity of their goal, without it being super specific. And accountability is usually the area that's really tough. Shifting the mindset, deciding who you're going to be, deciding what you're going to believe, deciding how you're going to feel, and doing the work. Learning the skill of interest interview, learning the skill of negotiation, learning the skill of decision making, doing the work, accountability, momentum, clarity. And that, as the Build Your Brave framework, is how you quickly, simply, and easily get your goal. It's not rocket science. It's simple, it's effective, and it transforms every life. Every one of my clients has a career and then a life transformation. Here are just 3 of my clients. These are my clients who have been on my podcast. There are actually more. And the promise that I make every single one of my clients is whatever your SMART goal is, whatever your concrete goal is under clarity, we're going to make that happen. And you're going to learn to stress and work less so that you can live and earn more. And when you read through what they have said, and these are quotes from the podcast, so you can definitely listen to them. You can listen to Chelsea, you can listen to Aaron, you can listen to Ashley, who are clients who are not on here. And you can hear them talk about what worked for them, what didn't work for them, how they grew, what surprised them. And you can see that it's always in this order: stress less, work less, live more, earn more. So Chelsea accepted a role as a trustee for the Museum of Flight. Live more. Ginny really focused in on her personal mission. Live more. And then she earned more. And Jackie really dropped a lot of stress, dropped a lot of that overwork of overthinking, right? Trying to be something that we aren't, being ourselves, and showed up as more authentic and confident. Live more. And then she began to earn more, significantly more. So what does it look like to work with me? You experience exponential results. You just experienced one of many frameworks. There are 18 one-on-one sessions. We have at least six group sessions, depends on what the group needs. Ongoing Slack support for your questions, for your comments. You can do it in voice. You can send me pictures. You can send me documentation, maybe your LinkedIn profile, your resume, an article that you're writing, as well as you have just a few pages from the workbook, but you get the full access to all of my workbook, all of my frameworks, and how I design coaching. We will design your goal and know why it matters to you. We're going to build a specific plan so that you reach that goal, but that you keep reaching goals for the rest of your life. And we're going to establish the mindset and the habits, accountability, for you to succeed. People do not coach with me. You would not coach with me to have lovely conversations. You absolutely will have lovely conversations. You step into coaching for a result. And I guarantee that result. We have a midterm check-in, and if you are not satisfied, we shake hands and we move on with our lives. The full investment is $6,000 paid monthly. My business exists in 2 different countries. No, paid monthly. All right, if you are interested in this, and I believe you absolutely are, please, in your inbox, either now or in a few minutes, going to be an email with even more information, documentation of what this is, right? You are also going to get the recording to this in a few days. Schedule your consultation or hit reply and ask me some questions. Let's start in a conversation and let's make sure you build your brave. You're already brave. Let's build the brave so that you stress less, so that you work less, so that you live and earn more, guaranteed. All right, let's get into the Q&A. Let's see